Hey everyone, Tom Panos, John McGrath, Troy Malcolm, and welcome to another MDA podcast. And why am I pumped today? Because there's not three, there's four. It's a coaching session that we're going to do live, pretty much on the spot. We've had a quick conversation. I'm going to introduce the person that's on the camera. And by the way, John and Troy, we've had a fantastic Day 2 of ARIC, again, record numbers. We're not going to have a chance to do a debrief on it, but everyone tune in next Monday, 10 a.m. Sydney time. The lady on the screen, Jenn Chambers from Remax in Brisbane.
At the Gold Coast, Tom. At
the Gold Coast. And Jenn, we're going to try and do some speed coaching. We're going to try and nail this in around 15, 20 minutes. And I'm going to give people the background. Jenn, you've been in real estate for approximately about a year, approximately 2 or 3 months working at Remax on the Gold Coast. You've come in, you've sold 2 properties very quickly, proactive, door knocked, got a couple of listings, had heaps of buyers left over, but you're saying a lot of what a lot of agents are saying, and that is they need more stock and they've got an abundance of buyers. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think that's about right. And the fact that I'm new to the area makes me an unknown quantity as well.
Okay, so in this 15, 20 minutes, if there was one thing that you'd love us to actually spend time doing a debrief, breaking up, digging deep, helping you, what would the one thing be?
How do I get more traction quickly? How do I get that confidence of people, apart from talking to them one-on-one, which is very slow and nurturing? I don't have the time to do that, to get to be able to satisfy all these buyers that I've got. I've got about 120 inquiries from buyers who are pre-approved, who are, or have already sold. I've got 120 people wanting to buy a property. How do I satisfy their needs and keep them on board and nurture them, as well as go out there and look for people who are wanting to sell their properties?
Okay, fantastic. So John and Troy, we're all going to chime in. We're going to go over to the master, John McGrath, who's going to give us his first views. He might want to sort of dig deeper and ask a further question, or he might actually move straight into making some recommendations.
So Jenn, well done. I think you just told us off air that you've sold about 7 properties, and a couple of them in quick succession, which is great. And you've got 120 inquiries that I assume you've qualified them and they're ready to go. So first thing I want to do is just around mooring lines. I didn't like when you said I'm an unknown quantity. That's a negative statement, and you're a known quantity. You know, you've got a great history as a teacher and a mother of 4, and you're now a successful real estate launching a new career. So let's just make sure we change our kind of identity statement that I'm not an unknown quantity. Sounds to me like you're doing a damn good job. So just be a bit careful of that. And the other thing offline, you sort of said something around, I haven't got time to do this. I'm not sure exactly what that was, but again, you've got time to do all the important things in your life, all the priorities you've got time to do. So all we need to do is work out what they are. So the good news is you've got 120 qualified buyers. The challenge is you don't have any property to satisfy them. So you need to now go, because you don't have a prior database, you need to now go to identify the streets, locations, properties, price ranges that are going to suit those buyers. And I would be literally, I mean, COVID makes it difficult in the short term, but door knocking, if not letterbox dropping, if not calling off CoreLogic. I would be looking to, because you can genuinely say hand on heart, hey, Jenn, I've got half a dozen people at the moment looking for a home around 550 to 600,000, exactly like yours. So what I'm doing is I'm just proactively getting out there, checking if anyone in the neighbourhood or in your specific street. So you've got a great opportunity. You've got the starting point, which is the buyers to buy the property. Post-COVID, there's going to be a lot of activity. I think there'll be some people, unfortunately, through distress, through financial hardship, through losing jobs or businesses, that will be thinking right now, talking at the kitchen table tonight, they'll be talking about, do they have to sell? So you'll probably find a higher ratio of response than would typically happen in this situation. So I think target the streets, target the properties that look like, I'd pick out your best 10 or 20 buyers out of that 120, be a bit more focused. Your best 10 or 20 buyers, I'd then identify the houses, streets, aspects that are going to fit within their price range. I would then find a way with socially distancing and with the appropriate restrictions to door knock or digitally door knock or letterbox drop those particular homes, and forget the concept that you're not an unknown quantity. You'll be a known quantity when you knock on their door, because you look like you've got great energy, great presentation. So that would be my advice.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, I'd go something along the lines of what John said there for you, Jen. I'd be saying that, there's many agents out there right now in Australia that would love to be in your shoes, to have access to that many qualified buyers. I would kind of go down the path of qualifying those buyers a little bit deeper. I would, really narrow my focus. John said 20 or 30. I think that's a good number. And I would go to the detail of asking them what they've actually seen and what streets do they love that they would love to live in. It's a really great differentiator if you know and can target those properties, because you can have a more valid conversation with those potential clients, the vendors, to say, listen, I've got a client that I'm working with, they've identified your street and a property like yours that they'd love to have. Now, the nurture side of it, I would be doubling down as well. With all those other people that have made inquiries that are qualified, I would be really nurturing them and being in contact with them as soon as and as frequent as possible. John mentioned that we're going to see that bounce and there's going to be a lot of stock come on the market. You're the ultimate connector, because you have those 120 people that you can connect with that stock when the time is right. So the better and the more in-depth conversations you have with those and nurture those buyers, the better the outcome long-term. The final part is, I wouldn't say you're an unknown quantity either. You've got great market traction for someone that's only been in the industry for a relatively short time, to have 7 sales, to have a number of those of your own, to looking to go to the next level. I would be building my profile around my success so far. Yeah. So start thinking about how you want to be known in the market, because there is a little piece of time right now that you can really say, I'm new to the industry, but this is what I stand for. This is the product I sell. This is my niche market. And this is what I get for my clients as a result. That will build a business of abundance, and you'll become the attraction agent within a very short period of time. So those little tips I would give as well, but I think you're well and truly on the right path. Just energy, effort, passion, enthusiasm. Keep those traits, because they're your strong points. That's why people are attracted to you so far.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, Jen. I'll finally add my bit to it, and both the stuff that John and Troy said also sounds, and I affirm with that. There's 2, practical things that I think that you could do. One of them actually is holding in my hand right now, and is a handwritten note that Paul Biller shared with the real estate gym members. He had exactly the same situation. He had a buyer that was desperate to buy, and he wrote out a handwritten note, and I'll read out the note. A client of ours has asked me to reach out to you in hope that you might consider selling your property to them. If there is a price you would like to consider selling for, I would love to hear from you. Regards, Paul Biller, with his mobile phone. What he did is he wrote it out by hand, and then he photocopied, I think, around 500 of those, and actually dropped them in the streets that, oh, wow. So you're
That's on my table, on my job list to do, Tom.
Okay. Well, I've got to tell you, there's another thing that actually says to me, you're a winner, because I can tell you winners are implementers. That was only shared yesterday.
Yes.
And you've gone off and you've started the plan. Now, the important thing to do, Jen, I think, is to don't do it in a way that is deceptive, where you go off and you get 10,000 letterbox drops and you try and ethically bribe people to call you. What you do is you target by time. So you might say, this week, I've got a buyer that's looking in these streets in Bellevue, in whatever part you're after. And then what you do is you actually do have a buyer. You don't just make it up fictitiously. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I saw Malcolm Quinn from Prime Agents. His partner shot a beautiful video. She walked out of an open for inspection, on her phone, did an Insta video that said, I've just come out of an open, I've got a couple, they need a 4-bedder, they need to make sure that the first bedroom and the second bedroom are of equal size, that's important, they need this location. If you've got a property that you're thinking about putting on the market, let me have a look at it because these people might buy it. And videos, videos are the modern way of target prospecting in an area. And I would definitely be considering that. And the third thing I will say is be patient because when you look at data, the data is very clear. When I look at CoreLogic RP data, there has been lower levels of stock than normal. And when John McGrath was kind enough to send me off to do the Gary Vaynerchuk interview 2 or 3 years ago in New York, it wasn't said on camera, it was said off camera. He said to me, you've got to remember, there are times where you can't swim against the tide. If there is no way that there's sales being made because there's an event that has slowed down transactions, what you do is you build your brand better than ever before because it's easier to stand out when there's not a lot of transactions going on because a group of people have built their profile by transactions. And if that's not happening, if you over communicate to the market, what will happen is in the months that follow and the transactions come, you're going to be higher on the shopping list. So he said, you've got to be patient in times when there is less transactions going on.
Mm-hmm.
So
go get them. Go get them.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Let us know how you go. We'd love to follow your success.
Oh, well, would love to. Could I just ask this question? This letter from Paul, am I better to target that on say, for example, duplexes that were the items that I sold, and then do my just sold letter DL flyers, send that to everybody, and then just do this as a targeted to just do duplexes? Would that be
I mean, one of them is you've got a specific buyer that might want to buy duplexes in a specific area. You know, that's the truth. And what you're going to do is have marketing that is attached to that. Your normal DL is actually a separate issue. So to answer your question, I'd be doing both.
Both, yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys. Much appreciated.
Okay. Well, there we go. The $1 Million Agent Podcast, live coaching with Jenn Chambers from the Gold Coast. John and Troy, I will see you next week. We're going to do 4 weeks of coaching. So thank you so much, Jenn. Go out and get them.